We're about to dive into the greatest story ever told. Seriously, it's not about kings or empires, it's the story of us, of you, me, and every single human who has ever lived. This is the story of how we became, well, us.
So how in the world did we get from there to here? I mean, think about it. We went from being just one of many upright apes on the African savanna to a global species that builds skyscrapers and sends robots to Mars. The journey seems absolutely impossible, but it happened.
And the whole story, it turns out, boils down to three huge leaps forward. Three revolutions that didn't just change our world, but they fundamentally rewired our bodies, our minds, and our very idea of what it even means to be human.
Okay, so this first leap, this one was by far the longest. It played out over millions and millions of years. This wasn't a revolution of building things outside of us, but a revolution inside of us. This is where we forged a new kind of body and a brand new kind of mind. This is the leap where we truly became human.
The first thing you have to wrap your head around is just the mind-boggling scale of time we're talking about. For millions of years, our evolution was this slow, grinding process of biological change. To put it in perspective, the entire history of farming, cities, empires, all of it is just a tiny, tiny sliver at the very, very end of this timeline.
So when we talk about our early ancestors, the proper term for the whole family is hominin. This includes us, Homo sapiens of course, but also this whole family tree of extinct relatives, like the famous Neanderthals or Homo erectus. And the one big thing we all had in common? We all walked on 2 feet.
And you know what? That first step was everything. Standing upright, a trait that our ancestors, like Homo erectus or upright man, really perfected, it set off this incredible chain of events. It did one simple but completely revolutionary thing. It freed our hands. All of a sudden, hands weren't just for walking anymore. They were for carrying, for making, for shaping the world.
This kicked off this powerful feedback loop. You see, freed hands started making stone tools. Those tools let us get more meat. That extra protein and fat fueled the growth of our most important asset, our brains. Then we figured out how to control fire, which gave us warmth, protection, and cooked food, which unlocked even more energy for those power-hungry brains. And to manage all this growing complexity, we developed our ultimate tool, language. The ability to cooperate, to plan, to share ideas, that was the final critical piece of the puzzle.
All right, so after millions of years of honing this incredible new toolkit, our species was finally ready for its global debut. The second great leap wasn't an internal one, it was external. This was the moment we stepped out of our African homeland and started to make the entire planet our own.
And this map, wow, it illustrates that incredible journey. For a little window in time, the climate shifted. The Sahara Desert, which had been this impassable barrier, turned into a green, welcoming corridor. Small bands of our ancestors basically walked right through that open door, and they just kept going, generation after generation, pushing into a world no human had ever laid eyes on before.
But here's where the story gets a fascinating twist. The world wasn't empty. It was already populated by our cousins, the Neanderthals in Europe and Asia, and the more mysterious Denisovans out in East Asia. And we didn't just replace them. The genetic evidence is clear. We met them, and we mixed with them. In fact, many of us listening to this right now carry a tiny percentage of their DNA. Our own genetics are a living record of that ancient mixing. And this really reveals our true superpower. It wasn't just being smart, it was being adaptable. You see, while other hominins were specialists, kind of locked into their specific environments, Homo sapiens were the ultimate generalists. We could innovate our way through any climate, any challenge. And in the end, that's why we're the last hominin standing.
And man, was that adaptability put to the ultimate test. As our ancestors pushed into the frozen landscapes of Ice Age Europe and Asia, they faced unimaginable cold. They learned to work together in these incredibly organized groups to hunt colossal prey like the woolly mammoth. They invented bone needles to sew fitted clothing from animal hides, basically creating the world's first custom winter gear. They weren't just surviving out there, they were thriving in the harshest places on the planet.
So for 95% of our history, we were these adaptable, globe-trotting hunter-gatherers. Then, in what is basically a geological blink of an eye, around 11,000 years ago, everything changed. The third leap was the fastest and by far the most dramatic of all. This is the leap that rockets us from Ice Age survival straight into the world we know today.
And the trigger for all of this?
It was a single, revolutionary idea, farming. You can think of it as a huge bargain we made with the land. Before farming, life was nomadic, lived in small family bands, always on the move, following the food. Afterwards, we stayed in one place, tied to our crops. In return, we got a reliable food supply that could be stored, which allowed our communities to just explode in size. The trade-off, though, our diets became a lot less varied and in many cases, a lot less healthy.
And settling down created something brand new. For the very first time in the history of our species, we had permanent homes. Places like Catalhayuk in modern-day Turkey started to pop up. These weren't just villages, they were sprawling towns with thousands of people living in these tightly packed mud brick houses. It's right here that the very concept of home, as we know it, was born.
This set off another one of those powerful chain reactions. Okay, so farming creates a surplus, more food than you can eat right away. That surplus means not everyone has to be a farmer anymore. That allows communities to grow from villages into towns and then into the first real cities, like the ones in Mesopotamia. But cramming thousands and thousands of people together created a whole new set of problems we'd never faced before.
And these new problems demanded totally new kinds of inventions. Not inventions of stone, but inventions of society. How do you manage all these people? Well, you create laws and rulers. How do you defend your precious land and that grain surplus? You create armies. How do you build a shared identity, organized religion? And maybe most critically, how do you keep track of everything? You invent writing. Civilization wasn't some grand plan. It was just a series of clever solutions to the problems we kept creating for ourselves. A settled life also gave us the time and the collective will to build on a scale that was just unimaginable before. All over the world, early farmers started putting up these massive stone monuments called megaliths. And what's astonishing is that some of the very first ones, like the incredible Göbekli Tepe, were built over 11,000 years ago. That's before pottery, before the first real cities. It's just a stunning testament to this deep human need to mark our place in the world and connect with something bigger than ourselves.
So, that's our story. 3 great leaps that took us from being just one of many hominins to the dominant species on this planet. A biological leap, a migrational leap, and a civilizational leap. And all of that brings us right here to now.
We've just walked through a story 7 million years in the making. It's the story of how one species of clever African ape, through 3 radical transformations, became a full-blown planetary force, capable of reshaping landscapes and even changing the climate of the Earth itself.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. Our ancestors made the leap into consciousness, the leap across continents, and the leap into civilization. Each one completely redefined what it meant to be human. As we stand here today, surrounded by accelerating technology, global connections, and unprecedented challenges, what do you think our 4th great leap will be?